Oh, there's Anthony. Everybody, shout Anthony.
Hey guys.
All right, cool. So, everybody, Anthony, I just introduced everybody to Michael. Anthony's having a glass of wine. You deserve that glass of wine, sir. You've been working very hard lately. This is the bunch, and if you just want to introduce yourself, Michael, or Anthony and Michael, I think everybody knows we have to use Michael. If you want to say hello, and just go ahead, guys, just talk.
Go ahead, Michael.
Oh, I was going to say you first.
Me first?
Well, you're more well known than me.
Okay. Well, that would see why you would have to introduce yourself. But, oh crap, my phone died.
Okay, I'll introduce myself. My name's Michael Perklin. I work with Anthony on a variety of projects. I'm the president of Canada's first Bitcoin security company, Bitcoin Sultans, and I'm a director of the Bitcoin Alliance of Canada and a director of the Cryptocurrency Certification Consortium, and I'm also involved with CoinDroids. I've lost count of how many Bitcoin-related projects I'm working with, but it's a pleasure to be here in front of all of you.
Cool. Awesome. So now what do we do?
Well, at least until Anthony returns, I guess I can speak as I understand it. The purpose of this call is just to talk about the various Bitcoin projects that are happening around Canada. Is that correct, or?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Whatever excites you.
Yeah, we want to talk about whatever excites you. We can talk about girls if you want.
No.
No. Okay, we can talk about girls.
One.
Oh. Well, that's.
I guess I'll talk about my my first involvement with Bitcoin, and that is through my company, Bitcoin Sultans. We are a Bitcoin security company. We have 7 staff members who have all been classically trained and certified in various cybercrime or cybersecurity fields. We all come from large companies such as KPMG and Deloitte. I myself, I used to work at Rogers as their chief digital forensic investigator. So we realized that there is a gap in the Bitcoin space with security. And true to form, MTGOX failed because they had very lacking security. So we put together a Bitcoin security firm, and we work with companies like Bitcoin exchanges across Canada, gambling websites, and Ethereum. Our latest project, we built the cold storage vault that Ethereum uses to protect their 26,000 Bitcoin. So.
Does that mean you keep it online?
Does that mean you keep it online?
So you're that caught by a wolf?
Actually, all 26,000 are right here in this Kazacious coin.
That's awesome.
Not really. But yes, my business is hosted out of Decentral, thanks to the amazing Anthony Iorio. Without his co-working space in Toronto, many burgeoning Bitcoin businesses wouldn't really have a home. And I wish I can give him a round of applause that he would hear, but instead he'll just have to have his ears ringing.
Right. That's a good pun, actually. Michael, you're pretty good. You should come. We should have you on like once a week. Yeah, you're pretty good, man. All right, so tell us what's happening around Decentral days. What's all the buzz?
Other than the very successful crowdfunding that Ethereum launched, Anthony's back. Why don't we put that question to Anthony? So the question was, what is happening at Decentral? What is all the buzz?
Okay, sorry about that, guys. My phone died, and I've only got my phone handy here for the call. You want me to introduce myself, or should I just go on with that question?
Hey, Tony, or Anthony, everybody knows who you are. We all love you very much. I think just answer the question. We don't want to waste too much of your time tonight.
Okay, so Decentral is a physical space in Toronto that came about looking for a place to house the meetups, which I've been doing since 2012. When the price was rising, actually last year, I realized that getting together in groups and coffee shops was great. The environment of getting people together and the ideas that were flowing were amazing. I just had in my head to get a physical location started where a larger place where people can gather and just passionate people involved in this space could get together and share ideas and place to house our meetups, and where co-working space can happen and people can form companies and help get them through the early stages of company growth. So Decentral is a community-driven building of like-minded people that are so passionate about blockchain technology and Bitcoin and other next-generation Bitcoin technologies can just come and get together and work together, be passionate together, and form companies and get ideas off the ground.
Awesome. How did Ethereum go?
How did it go, or how did that start up?
I mean, how did well, I'm just going to cut right to it. Everyone wants to know, how do you feel with the raise and how you did with the raise? Everybody's like really excited for it.
The product sales done really well. We never knew what to expect. I mean, it's always a question mark and up in the air, but it looks like people, the majority of the community are backing what we're doing, and I think because of the amount sold, you can tell that people are excited about the technology. I think they believe in the people behind it. I'm a strong believer of Vitalik. I think he's a genius. I think I've never met someone who doesn't really care about money and just wants to get his ideas across. And I'm really happy with the way things have gone. And it's amazing to raise or to sell, $15 million of something that we're promising to put out. And I'm excited on what's going to come out in the next few months.
Cool. Does anybody else have any questions for Anthony tonight?
Yeah, for sure. Let's get a brief on Ethereum. Let's get the 50,000-foot view on Ethereum.
Sorry, say that again?
Just give us a couple of paragraphs on what Ethereum is and what we should look forward to.
So we are in everything that we're doing right now is going towards the foundation. We're a nonprofit. We switched from being a combination for-profit entity and nonprofit to just be a foundation now. So we're not concerned with business development whatsoever. We're concerned with getting the protocol and the platform out there. That's the main goal. So that's why the majority of the funds are going towards the foundation and going towards development. So delivery is the most important thing right now in getting the product out there, and that's why a very small amount is going to be going towards education and the CCRG, which is a cryptocurrency research group that we have in Switzerland.
I guess while he's offline, did that answer your question, or were you looking more for a technical explanation of what Ethereum is?
Yeah, that. No, we don't know what Ethereum is. I know it. Really? Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll have a very brief 60-second introduction. So, Bitcoin's main invention is the blockchain, and the blockchain is used as a finance application. Bitcoin is a finance application that runs on the Bitcoin blockchain. People have tried to get the Bitcoin blockchain to do a lot more than just finance. Things like smart property, things like shares of corporations, and a lot of other things that Bitcoin wasn't designed to do. And they realized that to do that is just a Band-Aid on a Band-Aid on a Band-Aid, and it's like putting a square peg in a round hole. So what Ethereum is, you take the same blockchain that underlies Bitcoin, but you remove the finance application, and instead you replace it with a programmable, scriptable programming language. Now what you get is something that you can use the generic blockchain, the generic Ethereum blockchain, but you can apply it to anything, anything that you can express in a couple of lines of if-then-else statements, you can express on the Ethereum blockchain. So now, no longer do you need to sort of shoehorn things into the Bitcoin chain. You've got a generic chain that's designed to do anything.
Okay. Is it designed to be a currency at all, or it's designed for contracts only?
There is a token that's used in the Ethereum network, Ether, but it's not designed to be a currency. No, it's not designed to compete with Bitcoin or with Litecoin or with any of the others. What the token is used for is to fuel the applications that will be run on the distributed platform. With Bitcoin, when you turn on a miner, your miner cultivates the blockchain. You curate the chain, and you keep on adding blocks to the end so that everyone in the world can send transactions around the world. And in exchange, you get a 25 Bitcoin reward if you successfully add the last page to the ledger book. With Ethereum, what miners will be doing is they'll take all of these programs that are written by developers all around the world. They will run the programs on their computers on their behalf. And for every operation that their program is doing, that costs 1 tick of, it's not Ether, it's one of the other subunits of Ether, I guess milli-Ether or whatever they call it. So if you successfully find a block, you collect all of the fuel that the developers are putting into these programs to run on your machine. So the token is used as a fuel, and each token is one operation in the decentralized application.
Is there a fixed supply? Like, is the pre-sale going to be all Ether and then it just flows through the system, or are the miners also going to be creating new Ether every time?
There definitely will be new Ether that's created. There's a model that's on Ethereum.org. If you scroll down, you'll see the full distribution. There is not going to be a fixed upper limit like Bitcoin has, and we're going to reach the upper limit in the year 2140 thereabouts. But Ether is designed to not have an upper limit. So the use of Ether as a currency is, I guess, a little bit downplayed. It's more used to run the distributed applications that people want to place on any server around the world and can't have it shut down. Think of things like the Silk Road. That was shut down because it was hosted on a server somewhere in the United States. Think of really any or a gambling site that may be taken down by a government if it's against that particular regulation. These types of applications can be written in a distributed way and run on the Ethereum network so that miners run them distributed around the world. You actually won't know where your code will be executing when it's run.
Do you think all the people that bought into the pre-sale, do you think some of them are looking for a return on their investment at all, and do you think they will ever see it?
I'm not an investor. I'm a security professional and a Bitcoin aficionado. I don't think I'd be able to answer that question. But I'd imagine that people who purchased Ether have plans to use Ether to build the next generation of distributed applications. I apologize. I'm not an employee of Ethereum. I just work very closely with the team. I designed their Bitcoin safe, but I'm not a Ethereum employee.
All the questions I wrote are for Anthony, like specifically. Actually, no, you're from the Bitcoin Alliance. Alex.
I am, yeah. I'm one of the directors of the Bitcoin Alliance of Canada, and you know what? I may still be able to answer them, but I guess be warned that the views that I'm saying are my personal views. I can represent the Bitcoin Alliance of Canada. I can represent C4, but not Ethereum.
Just for example, say like employment contracts. Can you do employment contracts on Ethereum?
Absolutely. The way that one would work would be, actually, sorry, it looks like you're going to go on for the second half of the question.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, so say we do, somebody hires you, you do an employment contract on Ethereum. I'm sure this maybe is something that will be worked out later, but say if they break that contract and you can prove it, what are the ways you can go about, saying, hey, you broke the contract, there's a penalty in the contract, so on and so forth. Has that been worked out, or is that still to be enforcement?
Still relies on oracles, just like Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Yes, you would need an external oracle. The gentleman in the audience is correct. As long as the contract, excuse me, as long as it spells out every single edge case, if this happens and that happens, then do the other. And as long as everybody entering into the contract agrees that all the edge cases are properly represented there, then when someone doesn't meet their obligation, let's say every 2 weeks the employer needs to push the pay through the employment contract, and if they stop doing that, then certain things will happen. These would need an external oracle, a trusted information source that the Ethereum contract could reach out to, pull the information in, and process it in a trusted way. Of course, all this information would need to be properly signed so that the contract knows that the information it's pulling in is truly valid and it came from the authenticated source.
Cool, thanks.
Guys, sorry, I'm really sorry about that. I'm back again. I don't know for how long though. I'm fighting against my battery life right now, even though it's plugged in.
Question for Anthony.
Yeah, so I understand you played a big role in building the Toronto scene, so just wondering what that was like.
Well, yeah, what are your experiences building the Toronto scene, and how much hard work was it, and what did you feel the reward? How rewarding has it been for you?
Well, it started in 2012, probably about a month after I found out about Bitcoin. I jumped, head first, started the meetup group, was traveling quite a distance to go to each meetup, and then over time it started getting busier and busier. We now do it every single week. Consistency is the key. I think having a meetup where we know people want to come down and they know that there's always an event going on every Wednesday. And then a lot of it was getting the idea for the alliance, and then finding excellent people like Perklin that are passionate about Bitcoin across Canada to join me in the vision of having this organization that just tries to help and promote Bitcoin, bring people together. I think having a building such as we both have here, yours in Vancouver and here in Toronto, to have a place where people can come and just chill, and it really helps to have a physical space that everybody can be part of. I do it because I'm passionate about it. I like the people that I'm involved with, and I think just this space is just going to be blowing up in the near future. The decentralized space, the decentralized technology space, and Toronto's doing quite well. But I always say that we're still behind Vancouver in the merchant adoption, and that's something that I think we got to focus on with the alliance and what we do in Toronto. And I'm hoping to get Cameron and Freddie out here sometime to help us get more merchants accepted in Toronto.
Cool.
To extend that a little bit, one of the things that the Bitcoin Alliance of Canada just agreed to do a few days ago during our board meeting, we're having a campaign where every city, every town across Canada, if you're a member of the Bitcoin Alliance of Canada, we're going to give you a PDF that you can print out, slap your name on it, and we're basically just going to go Bitcoin across Canada. There's going to be a week in September where we're going to encourage all Canadians who are passionate about Bitcoin and who are volunteers, go out to your main street, go out to your Bay Streets or your Queen Streets, or I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with the streets in Vancouver, but walk up and down, spend 5 minutes with each merchant, give them the flyer. If they have information, they can look it up online, or they can contact you as their point of contact. So trying to bring up the merchant adoption that I agree with Anthony definitely needs to happen.
We got is Daniel on the line now?
I see him. Yes,
I'm here.
Hey Daniel, how are you?
Doing good.
Good, good.
Crazy. This is getting much more interesting.
Hey, so I heard you're planning on franchising Decentral, and you mentioned a minute ago that you had, we have this here, you have that there. So how does that work for us if you guys franchise Decentral?
Well, this is the thing. I'm trying to devise a whole philosophy around a physical space that brings together community and startups involved in the decentralized space. I think it's important to have a similar philosophy with the different locations, and I'd really like to work with you guys, work with you, Freddie, to get something in Vancouver that we can help provide the mentorship of the network that we've already formulated, the Global Mentor Network. We can help to get funding based on a business plan that we are getting off the ground here. So I think the goal is to get Decentrals out to many parts of the world, and I think provide the support of one basis area, but then have decentralized hubs around the world for it.
That's amazing. Guys, can we just give a round of applause for that? Thank you, Anthony. That's very, very cool. Next question.
I just have to call you on that. Sounds like a centralized way to do it.
Right.
If you could think of a decentralized way to do it, I'm all ears. I'm looking to hear as many. I actually was meeting with people today that were coming up with a decentralized accelerator program idea, and I'm definitely willing to do that. But I've got to also look at this name and look at what I'm trying to do with this name, and you've got to, I want it to stand for certain things, and I think it can actually be used, in a way that might harm certain things, and I hope we can get on the same page. And to do that, I need to get a plan together that everybody's going to fall behind it and want to be part of. So it takes money to do that, and that's what I'm trying to put forward. But I would love to have you guys in Vancouver be like the second franchise of it, and it would be a matter of not me being ownership or part of it. It would be almost like leasing the name out and having, providing resources that help get those locations off the ground without having to do the same things that I've already done over here.
Awesome.
So you started the Bitcoin Alliance Canada, all right? So how has it been? Like, how is it compared to where you thought it would be by now? And what's your end goal for it?
It's going well, but it's been a lot slower, and unfortunately, I haven't had as much time as I'd like to have as I initially did last year when I first started it. There was a long period where I was working on that full time with no other projects, and then within a span of like 2 months, I had my partner come to me with the idea for CryptoKit, and then I had Vitalik come to me with Ethereum, and then the building came open here. So there's been a ton of other things that I've been working on. And I haven't honestly been able to put the amount of time that I want, but we have a lot of income that came in from the expo. So I think we're somewhere we raised about $40,000 to $50,000 for the expo that we did in Toronto. And the first thing that I think I'd like to do with that is to hire some staff that can actually do a lot of the administrative work that we need to do on the alliance. So that's actually what I would like to see is staff hired to do that. And I think we have.
So you mentioned CryptoKit.
Put the push out that I haven't been able to do because of my other projects.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you mentioned CryptoKit. I was wondering about the decision to make a Chrome browser wallet. Like, no one else has done that. And, like, do you think it was the right decision? Like, was it successful?
Yeah, we're really happy with it. We just also launched Rush Wallet this week, which is a HTML5 wallet. It's instant wallet, just like CryptoKit. And we got the app for CryptoKit coming out soon. I think it made sense. There isn't anything like that, and it's the easiest one to set up and actually go shopping with. Because it grabs addresses on the page and populates it right into CryptoKit, you don't need to actually go to a web wallet and copy and paste addresses. So you can stay on the page that you're shopping with and hit one click to send the payment. So I think it was a smart move to do it. The app is going to be based very similarly. We'll have encrypted messaging on the app along with a very easy and good-looking wallet. We have a hardware wallet that's been prototyped and getting designed right now that works with CryptoKit. So we are expanding the offerings. It's not just going to be an extension anymore. It's going to be an iPhone and Android app. Probably in the next 3 weeks, we'll be launching both of those. And Rush Wallet seems to have a lot of, we've had good reception for Rush Wallet as well over the last week. We actually have more wallets created on Rush Wallet than we had with CryptoKit because it's an instant wallet and it's something that's very easy to set up.
Yeah, the combination with one.
Yeah, do the same things that I've already done here.
Yeah,
My fault. Sorry.
Yeah, Rush Wallet is super fun to create wallets, by the way.
Thank you.
Not a lot because it's really fun, and I made like 4. But I was wondering else about Rush Wallet is it open source? Good question.
Oh,
okay.
It's open source, Anthony?
It's not open source, but it's auditable and fully open to view the code.
Is the wallet okay? It's viewable. Okay.
Yeah. So what we've seen already in the last 2 days is we've had someone that's actually there's a coin called Myriad Coin that's taken our exact design and our exact wallet, even our exact help and info guide, everything with it, changed the word to the word Myriad Coin, and has launched that out. So. You know, we've got a staff of 8 people now working on CryptoKit, and it's expensive to come up with this and to do that. And then for someone to just take the whole, not even make it look different or do anything, they basically just change the color of it, and then release that, not changing anything is, you know, I don't really agree with the way that was done. If they had come to us and said, hey, we're thinking about doing this, you know, we could probably work out something, but it is fully auditable and open, and anybody can view the code. So in that sense, you could actually go through and see everything that's in there.
And then, okay, something I didn't get to test on Rush Wallet is, can I just copy and paste the URL and open my wallet from somewhere else, or is it fully stored client side?
You on your end, you're able to copy and paste it, only because it is stored in the URL. Anything past the hashtag never gets sent. According to HTML standards, never gets sent anywhere except in the address bar. So it's a system that we've tried when we used to have Satoshi Circle, which was a gaming site that we used to have, and we had over 4,000 users, and we never had an issue with a compromised URL. So we know the system we're using is sound and secure, and I don't think we're going to have problems with the URL. Now, if someone wants to take that and post it somewhere, it'd be like posting your password, but we're pretty confident with the system that we have for that. And you can actually take anything past the hashtag. It's a brain wallet system, even though it doesn't look like a brain wallet, and you can import that into CryptoKit or any other wallet that uses a brain wallet import feature.
That's super cool. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Anthony, you mentioned the burdensome aspect of the administrative part of what you're doing. Can you just give us an indication of how much administration work you deal with on a daily basis?
For the Alliance?
Just generally for everything you do, do you find it overwhelming or?
I've got good people working and helping out part of the team at Decentral, which makes all the difference. I've got a gentleman named Ethan who's like my right-hand man, does everything I possibly need, extremely technical person. In fact, he's a doctor of philosophy and he was a professor, and now he works at a Decentral. He's setting up Decentral TV, which is a Bitcoin dashboard that we've created that's also going to have a video component. It's going to be like a place for you to just go and see what's going on with Bitcoin. You've got price charts, you've got news feeds, Twitter ticker, you've got graphing charts for mining power, and then a space for a live stream that we're going to be having 24/7. And we're going to start off by broadcasting all the Coin Summit conferences are going to be put onto this when we launch. So we're trying to make this dashboard just for Bitcoin. So he's taking care of that. I have Tracy, who's working full-time now on CryptoKit, and she did the whole expo. Definitely extremely dedicated person who runs events and things. I've got Michael, who works out of Decentral, and Bitcoin Consultants work out of there. I've got 3 different exchanges actually. We've got Jerry from Quadriga, Sonny from Buttercoin, and CA Vertex all have offices in Decentral right now. So I kind of am managing a team of many people, and they're just getting the job done, and they do a lot of this. I got my wife who's been working there who does the administration at the office. So it's definitely not just me doing all this. It's a lot of team, and it's a good team that's working on this.
So the Ethereum crowd sale was extremely successful. Do you think people, like with the amount bought, do you think all the people buying are planning on using it as Ether, or do you think some of them are looking for a return on investment?
Yeah, I think they probably are. I mean, I've got Ether, and I'm not looking for it like that. It's being sold as something that's going to be the necessity to run our platform in the future. I think we've made it very clear in the guidelines, the terms and conditions, that that's what it's for, and the reasons why it has to be used, and that being to stop infinite looping or any malicious software, and you do need something like that in order to control those things. So we've made it clear to people that we are not selling this as an investment, and you are taking a risk. And I don't know if you guys saw the terms and conditions, but they're pages and pages long. So we're hoping that people did read that, and there is no expectation other than it being used to help and run our platform.
Okay, well, I got one more. For the record, nobody read it.
I actually took a moment to read it, believe it or not, because I thought it was interesting.
Okay, this last one. Okay, what projects are being worked on in your accelerator right now that you can talk about, or which ones are you most excited about?
Yeah, so honestly, we haven't actually got the accelerator off the ground right yet. We're still building up the fund for it and deciding the structure to use for it. My focus right now is CryptoKit, so the CryptoKit team is working out of there. There's 6 of us working out of there right now, and we're expecting probably 3-4 weeks we'll be announcing the fund. We've interviewed over 40 companies. We've got a short list of ones that we would actually want to bring in, but it is a very short list. We're going to try to go more global. We've had a lot of applications for different countries. Most of the common things like exchanges, wallets, a few unique things. But I'm also debating whether or not to not even raise a fund and do it internally myself, just bring in a few companies and get it off the ground like that. But over the last few months, of course, my focus has been Ethereum and now Rush Wallet and CryptoKit and getting Decentral. There's so much going on and so much to do. I can't dedicate myself full time to each project.
Don't forget about C4.
And C4 and the Alliance and the meetups, and yeah, there's lots of stuff going on. Have you talked about C4 yet, Michael?
C4.
What's that?
4C. Oh, 4C. No, what is C4?
It's C4. Michael, explain what C4 is.
C4, excuse me, it stands for the Cryptocurrency Certification Consortium, C4. It is a personnel certifying body, a nonprofit organization similar to ISACA and ISC Squared. These organizations certify security professionals. There are certified accountants in the financial industry. I realized when I was trying to hire new talent for Bitcoin Consultants, and when I talked to other Bitcoin entrepreneurs who are trying to hire either Bitcoin developers or other Bitcoin professionals, there is no bar. There's no way to measure Bitcoin knowledge. I mean, we have some candidates who say, I know a lot about Bitcoin, I know everything, but they don't understand the basics of a transaction. Whereas there are other people who say, I know a little bit, but then they blow you away with just how much technical knowledge that they have. So the website is cryptoconsortium.org. We hope to be launching September 1st with the first professionals certified. We're working together with a lot of well-known names in the industry, Vitalik Buterin and Anthony Iorio, and some others who I can't name just yet because there's no signature on a paper, even though they're already assisting. And we hope to be able to build that meter stick that will measure Bitcoin knowledge so that any Bitcoin entrepreneurs that you have in your audience, like the people that I know as well, will be able to accurately hire someone that is useful for their company.
Any sample test questions available? Your site looks pretty plain right now.
All the sample test questions are on the staging server. The questions, so there are going to be two certifications out of the gate. First one is Certified Bitcoin Professional, or CBP. Target audience for CBP would be salesmen for Bitcoin-related companies, controllers or accountants who need to receive Bitcoin on behalf of their company, and really anybody who deals with the currency on a usability basis. I imagine that the majority of your audience would be able to pass a CBP test without even studying or without anything. It just asks, what is a transaction? Is this possible? Is that possible? Pure multiple choice and true false. The second certification is Certified Bitcoin Expert. This one will require significant study. It's aimed at developers, at security professionals, and at people who need to be able to build a transaction by hand, maybe even decode the bytes because they understand what encodings are used, which encryption protocols, which digital signatures are used, and all of the internals. So between these two certifications aimed at two different levels of users, we hope to be able to finally have some kind of a meter stick against which we can measure cryptocurrency knowledge.
What kind of other certifications are planned in the future, or will it just be the two?
Already in the works is Vitalik's baby, a certified Ethereum contract developer, someone who is certified to write Ethereum contracts. And there are a few other ones. We're even considering for April 1st next year to have a certified Doge professional. But
I already got it.
Yes, Mr. Pasecki already has. So.
Michael, you're good, man. You're good. You can come out and hang out anytime. You can hang out anytime.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, cool. Any more questions, gentlemen, before we close off T-Dot?
Okay, Michael. Shamir secret sharing versus multi-signature. Which is better? Which is more secure?
I heard the first one. Shamir's secret signing versus what? Sorry.
Versus multi-signature.
Both of them are used for different purposes. Multi-signature is used on a Bitcoin transaction when a script requires two or more signatures in order for the transaction to go out. Shamir's secret sharing algorithm is used to take one secret and split it up into multiple parts so that no one human has a secret alone. Both of them are considered secure, but they both have two different use cases.
Because, for example, Buttercoin said that they're storing their funds, or will be storing their funds in a Shamir's secret sharing private key. I'm thinking, oh, is that a better approach than multi-signature?
Well, all the work that I've done for Ethereum is open source, so I can say that there is an element of Shamir secret sharing used in Ethereum's Bitcoin vault. The reason for this is the script size, the maximum script size you can have within a Bitcoin transaction is fairly restrictive. We wanted to have like a 5 of 9 multi-sig setup, but once you go above, I believe it's 6 signatures on one transaction, the script size is so large that no nodes will relay it. So it was necessary to use a lower multi-sig setup and to add on the Shamir secret sharing, which would get you the more people, even though the Bitcoin protocol itself doesn't support it. So again, it's not about which one is more secure or less secure. Any kind of encryption algorithm is secure, provided that it's implemented properly. The most secure algorithm is useless if you keep a copy of the private key laying around.
What do you think of Ripple?
I was a supporter of Ripple for a while, mostly because of the idea of the distributed IOUs, and I really liked the mechanic of how it. If I owe Pete a 5 coin and he owes Edward 10 coin and Edward owes me 3 coin, well, we can just undo it by 3, and just the way that it uses a peer-to-peer network to balance the books, I thought was a really smart idea. Where I guess was a little bit less enthusiastic about the project is when I learned about the XRP. The way that XRP was implemented, I felt hindered the true innovation of the Ripple protocol, which was this distributed IOU system.
Awesome. So,
Anthony, what do you think about Ripple?
Are you asking me? Sorry, I didn't hear that.
What do you think of Ripple, Anthony?
I own some Ripple, very little. I think the ones that they were handing out for free. I haven't really followed too much what's going on with Ripple, at least for the last. There's so many to think about. The last time I actually bought a coin was Litecoin around $2, so I haven't really followed many of the other ones out there. So I'm not the best to be providing feedback on Ripple.
hey Anthony, I had a question for you. Were you following what happened last night over in Hong Kong with Bitfinex and the margin calls and all that stuff?
No, I heard today that it shot down to 450 at one time, but I didn't really follow. What's going on. The news that I get right now is we've got 2 big TVs in Toronto that actually have decentral TV on it, which is just showing headlines and things. That's usually the extent that I see on a daily basis of news that's happening, just the headlines. I do go on Reddit and look at the top 10 every once in a while, but I haven't been able to keep up as much as I'd like to in everything that's going on. There's just so much happening.
I totally understand that. So I got a question for Michael, and then Anthony, and we're going to let you gentlemen go. We're going to move on for the rest of our program tonight. Michael and Anthony, where do you see Bitcoin at the end of the year value-wise?
We got a pool going on at Decentral. I think I said $1,200 at the end of the year. Michael, I think you went much higher than I had.
Yeah, my bet was 2,000. We structured so at the very last second of 2014. What is the Canadian Bitcoin average of all Canadian exchange? What is it going to be? And the rules we're using, not Price is Right rules, it's just closest to the real value. So I believe it's going to be 2,000. I also believe I'm going to be the winner.
Good. Michael, I'm totally with you on that one. I've got a next one with one of our local guys, exactly the same valuation. What we're going to do, Alex, if you don't mind, what we're going to do, gentlemen, is based on what you guys did as an inspiration point, we're going to have a bet tonight, and we're going to create a wallet. People can send money in, and put in the note what their evaluation is expected to be at, and whoever comes closest will win. It can be anonymous. And Baron hates the idea already, but I know betting is wrong.
We put in $5 each.
So
the real prize is bragging rights, not the $5.
Yeah. And is Dan still on the line?
Sorry, who?
Dan.
Yeah, he's coming up next.
Oh, yeah, Dan.
Okay, cool. Is Vitalik with him?
He's in my town, but not with me right now.
Okay.
I had dinner with him tonight.
Nice.
All right, gentlemen. Guys, everybody, a round of applause for our gentleman in Toronto.
Thank you very much, guys. My battery will probably be dying again any second, but thanks for having me on, and I'd like to do this on a more regular occasion, if that's good with you guys.
Yeah, we'll probably bring you in, once a month now. It's like you guys are a lot of fun tonight. This is like one of our funnest ones in a while, So, yeah.
Well, awesome. Freddie, thanks for organizing.
And as a plug on my way out, I would just like to raise this shirt. I don't know if you can see that name on the screen, but this is something that's going to be really exciting coming up. It doesn't support Bitcoin yet on purpose because it's in testing, but if you want to take a Google for coin droids, you are probably going to wet your pants at how awesome it is.
Okay, that was a good pitch. That was an awesome pitch. It doesn't get much better than that. All right, Toronto, Vancouver signing out. Have a great night. Cheers. All right, Max, it's your show.
Morning. Yes. Yeah, what's the point doing?
Hey everybody,
Hey, Max.
Max, right? And I want to talk to you guys today a little bit about some cool things. BitShares, number one, and delegated proof of stake, a new consensus algorithm which Dan Larimer here on the screen invented. I wrote the white paper on a little while ago. And just a few things I want to kind of cover here. One, I want to tell you like my motives for this. I have three motives actually. The first is very altruistic and nice. This was shared information, let you guys test it out. Second is, I'm pretty confident at economics, things like that, not so confident on the technical stuff. So I've heard Dan relay some of the benefits of delegated proof of stake. I think it's the benefits are outstanding. Nothing short of outstanding. I think that's what's amazing, actually, what can be done. What I do not have is the technical skills to shoot holes in it from a security point of view. So before I invest too much time and energy down this path, I would like to leverage off the brain's trust in this room to hammer Dan with difficult questions. In fact, basically what I want to do is brainstorm how we can destroy delegated proof of stake. So that if it stands up to the defense, then that'll be good. We know that's something that we can move forward with. Otherwise, it should be discussed. And the third reason is that I forgot. So never mind the third reason.
That's all.
We just got two reasons.
Yeah, and then you should introduce your friend.
Yeah. So so here's Dan. Dan is the inventor of BitShares, delegated proof of stake, a whole bunch of things. I first read a white paper which he produced nearly a year ago. I think it was, if my memory serves, it was on decentralized autonomous companies. One of the very exciting things that blockchain technology allows. But Dan, why don't you just want to take a moment to introduce yourself and some of the exciting things you've got?
All right. Well, I've been in the Bitcoin space for, I guess, 4 years or so. About a year ago, I set off on a mission to design and build a decentralized exchange. And that's when I came up with the idea for BitShares. In particular, BitUSD, the ability to have a market-pegged asset that has all the features of Bitcoin, but is price stability of the dollar, or gold or silver or other assets. I'm actually excited to let everyone know that BitUSD goes live next week. We've got the hard fork in place for BitShares X, if you've been following that, which is pretty exciting. But along the way, for the past year, we've had to come up with various things. Delegated proof of stake is our new consensus algorithm that gives us 10-second blocks. We don't have any forks. We have higher reliability. And 100% participation as far as all shareholders or coin holders, whatever you want to call them, to maintain their influence. So we've got that. We've been focusing on things like ease of use with our Titan, which allows you to send to a name. When you're using BitShares X, you don't have to ever see a public key once we get the automated registration system in place. So, my background is in economics and software engineering, and yes, I'm leading up the BitShares project as a whole.
Great, thank you, Dan. And I remember my third reason why I'm doing this. The third reason why I'm doing this is that should this stand the test of the brain's trust trying to break delegated proof of stake, I would like to start speaking a lot more on BitShares and everything that they're doing. And I consider that Dan, during this conversation, very much my crutch to carry me during the difficult technical conversations, the questions, and hopefully I'll learn enough to do this without Dan in the near future through a few of these exercises. So that was the third reason. So I want to just now start to introduce the concepts a little bit, but I'd like to get a pulse on the room before I do. Who here would say that they have a really good understanding of how Bitcoin mining works and the consensus algorithm? By show of hands. Okay, pretty small amount of the room. Okay, so what I would like to do is I would like to introduce that topic, get everyone up to speed about how Bitcoin mining works, what the purpose of it is. We might go through a little bit of the journey and the evolution through proof of stake, and then we'll arrive at delegated proof of stake, and I'll hopefully demonstrate some of the really amazing features that it produces, and then we'll throw it over to the tech challenge to try and break it. So, but what I'm going to need is the whiteboard. Sorry, where did that end up, Freddie?
Oh, it's behind Baron over there.
Yeah.
And Thank you.
Okay, so
So good.
we're going to be using that. It's great. And that'd be awesome. So okay, so a few concepts here. We'll go through some techie stuff later, but I want to just throw some analogies out there and some concepts so people kind of get the idea of what's going on. What Bitcoin is a payment network, the best payment network the world's ever seen, as far as I'm concerned. Oh, by the way, a few disclaimers. Everything I'm going to be saying, we're going to get into. I'm going to get into some of the challenges of Bitcoin and hopefully try and address them. I should point out, number one, that I am and remain a Bitcoin enthusiast. I don't think anything I'm saying here is going to threaten Bitcoin. Bitcoin is a piece of software, and I think we should experiment with altcoins and things on the side, and should something superior arrive, then Bitcoin can always update its software or hard fork or do anything else. But I don't think anything I'm saying is a threat to Bitcoin. I still remain very, very bullish and excited about Bitcoin. So, what Bitcoin is a payment network, and what it requires is security, to make sure people aren't doing double spends, to make sure people aren't ripping people off, and to make sure that the entire payment network is secure. What Bitcoin does is it employs miners to secure that network. That's what miners' job is. People give up time, they get on my machines, they plug it in, they pay for electricity, and they're performing a job. And that job is securing the network. Now, in order to, with their remuneration, their paycheck for securing that, for securing the network, is that they receive rewards. So every 10 minutes on average, 25 Bitcoins is brought into existence, and that is the reward to the miners for securing the network for that 10 minutes. Now, this is a very, very costly exercise. When I heard this number, it absolutely floored me. In 2014, the Bitcoin network is on track to pay to all miners combined nearly $750 million to secure the network. That is a mind-blowing amount, right? Now, they're doing a great job. Now, compare that to armored trucks running around with fiat notes and people driving to work to banks. It's still a very good deal.
Is that new coins or is that the electricity bill?
That's new coins. That's new coins. So there's 25 Bitcoin rewards that are released every 10 minutes. The Bitcoin network pays to the miners. That is $750 million given to the miners to secure the network. Now, they do a great job, and maybe prior till now, they haven't sort of found anywhere better to do it. So it's a valid job, and it's good that they do that. But it would be great if there was a way to reduce those costs and still do it. Now, I want to explain to you how those costs are incurred, who actually funds that, who are paying the miners. And I would invite you to explore another analogy with me. And that is, think of Bitcoin as a company, all right? The people who own Bitcoin are the shareholders, yes? They have employees, which are the miners. They pay the miners. And the way they pay their miners is through bringing new Bitcoins into existence. And so they are paying the miners through inflation. It's a concept, right? So think about this. If every single 10 minutes they're paying out 25 Bitcoins, if you do the numbers, so at today's rates, it's a little bit less than about $2 million a day that the Bitcoin stakeholders are paying through inflation. Now, what that means is that to make that visceral and everyone to kind of understand that immediately, you pay, there's miners all over the world burning electricity, buying hardware, whatever else. The Bitcoin network is rewarding them for the Bitcoin mining fees. They then have to pay, chip manufacturers and electricity bills and whatever else. They have to go and liquidate probably the vast majority of that to pay for their costs. So every single day, about $2 million of Bitcoin is being sold by the Bitcoin mining work, putting downward pressure on the price. Every single day, the first $2 million of new interest in Bitcoin, that if that cost wasn't there, that would raise the price up. That price does not get it. It requires $2 million of new interest in Bitcoin every single day just to keep the price stable.
That's interesting, actually.
Right?
Yeah.
So this is the cost. Like I said, miners do a fantastic job and we absolutely need them, but what we are paying them is enormous. And there might be better systems out there. We're going to explore some today. But this is interesting. Anytime there's a fixed concept or a fixed price and there's no market price to find things, you're going to get distortions in the market.
Right.
So what Satoshi had to do, for very good reasons, I'm not going to question Satoshi because he's clearly a freaking genius, but what he had to do is he had to set an established miner reward fee way back in 2009 for all time. And that fixed, probably he didn't expect the price to go up so fast, and he didn't expect that the 25 Bitcoin is only worth $100, that would mean that not so many people would be mining, but because the price has gone up so fast, we now see people all over the world pouring $750 million into mining.
Can I just harp on something, Max? That we have to drum up $2 million for the business every day in order to keep our valuation.
In order to keep the price from plummeting.
No, that's only theoretical if every miner sold everything they mined every day.
Correct, and some miners do keep. And you can argue that later on in time, when it's a closed system and the electricity companies accept Bitcoin and other things happen, that might not be the case. But as a general loose approximation, we're just going to take that for granted at the moment. Okay. Now, so the way I want you to think of that is that the stockholders, people who own Bitcoin, pay for miners through inflation. Another way of saying it is they dilute their own shares. Same as if you own a company and they dilute the shares, you own less of the company because there's now more shares. So that's how miners are being paid. Now, another analogy I want to give you, just at the upset before we go into the nitty-gritty of it, is we're going to talk about decentralized autonomous companies later on. So some really exciting things that are possible. We're going to talk a lot about that later on. Some really exciting things that are possible with decentralized autonomous companies. And we need the model of the blockchain to really accurately resemble what a company does. And there's kind of a little bit of a break in the analogy here with the current Bitcoin consensus algorithm. Now let me give you this analogy. I own a nightclub, right? And I pay a bouncer to be the security at the door. Now, most of our decisions are kind of aligned. We both want the nightclub to be successful. We want the richest patrons to come in. I can charge more for drinks. He gets greased more at the door. Most of the decisions we make are kind of, our motivations are directly the same. We want the nightclub to be successful. But every now and again, there's some decisions that need to be made where our interests are not aligned. For example, I might not like the security guard and I want to buy him. So as a shareholder, I need to have that right. I need to have ultimate power over the company. I might want to change his salary. I might want to change lots of things. But the miner, if the miner has all of the power, then it's a little bit upside down, and then the miner has control and the shareholders do not. Now, if you bring that analogy back to the Bitcoin algorithm, we find that the miners are the ones who have all the power in the Bitcoin world. It's the security guards who have all the power. They're the decision makers, and the shareholders are quite passive. So as we get towards decentralized autonomous companies, we find that kind of breaks a few things and breaks down some of the productive things that we can do with decentralized autonomous companies. So with those kind of analogies in our mind, I might shift over to the whiteboard here a little bit, and we'll talk a little bit about proof of stake. Sorry, proof of work, which is what the Bitcoin is. So as I mentioned, no, I didn't mention this. The way it works is the mining process is basically a lottery, and I use the analogy of a needle in a haystack. Now what happens is the Bitcoin protocol creates a haystack, hides a needle in it, and there's no clues as to where the needle is. So what the miners do is they just go out with processing power and they're just looking for needles. What they're doing is they're looking for a magic number, right? And they're looking for the needle in the haystack. They're looking for a needle in the haystack, and they're just all this computational power, looking. And the more people that look, the harder it is to find. So what the Bitcoin protocol does is the more terahashes, the more hashing power looking for that needle, every 2 weeks, the Bitcoin protocol says, well, people are finding the needle too fast. So I'm gonna make the haystack bigger. All right? And every single 2 weeks, approximately, the haystack gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and the needle is therefore harder and harder to find. But the goal is to try to average out that every 10 minutes someone finds a needle.
And that's called difficulty.
That's called difficulty, right? So now difficulty is absolutely exploding because it's so profitable to be a miner if you're on the cutting edge and doing it right. And there's just so much money involved with it, $750 million being given away this year to miners. Because of all that money, people are constantly pouring in with new mining technologies, new mining hardware, and doing it whatever. The more people that pile in, the bigger the haystack has to get, right? And it's just kind of like the reason this was done. The principle behind it is the key concept of the security of the Bitcoin network is decentralization, right? The argument being, if there can be no point of attack, then this currency will last. So we're getting a little bit of economics and the history of e-gold and Liberty Reserve, and the short answer there is government and banks don't like competition in the creation of currency. Anytime someone has tried that, they've been met with guns. So it's very important to create a system that was decentralized and had no single point of attack. So the idea being, what we'll do is we'll just have millions of computers all over the world looking for this needle in a haystack. And the prerequisite that we'll put on everybody in the protocol is that every time a needle is found, Someone goes, aha, I found a needle. Here's 10 minutes of transactions. We're going to call it a block. I'm going to attach it to the blockchain. And then everyone starts looking for the next needle. Here's one, attached to the blockchain. Now, everybody is programmed to look for the longest chain to be the most valid chain. Right? Think about that concept. You've got all these blocks, and they form a blockchain. So everyone is programmed to assume that the longest chain is the correct chain. Now, the reason they did this was, what if there was a nefarious actor? What if somebody came in and said, I'm going to hijack the Bitcoin network. I'm going to buy a whole bunch of mining power, and I'm going to start mining. Well, they're going to find a needle every now and again. And if they start doing an alternate chain where they're giving themselves more or less or whatever, or doing double spends, it won't matter unless they have the majority of the mining power, the 51%, because the 51% mining will always build a chain longer than the one or two nefarious actors. Does that kind of concept make sense? So the security of the blockchain is that it's decentralized, and in order to take advantage of it, in order to take advantage of the system that takes over, you would need 51% of the hashing power, which is a tremendous amount of hashing power. So the value of the decentralization as security, the Bitcoin network is only as secure as it is decentralized. And that's what proof of stake was designed, sorry, proof of work was designed to do.
So what's proof of stake then?
We'll get to proof of stake in just a second. I want to point out some economics of this as with what we've learned so far. And that is this. If there was just one person mining, all right, and we decentralized and there's now 2 people mining, that would be, the advantage of that would be a lot. Like 1 person extra mining is really, really valuable. If we jump forward to the 10,000th person mining, adding 1 more person mining doesn't add a lot to decentralization. Does that make sense? When there's only 1 person mining, you add 1 more, it's like we've doubled the number of people mining. There's a lot of decentralization happening with that 1 person. The value of that 1 extra miner is a lot. When there are 10,000 miners, if you add 1 more, the value of the extra one is like negligible. So the curve looks kind of like this. As we add more miners, the value of each miner goes down. Yeah? This is the economics of the mining system. Now, here's the thing. To run a miner, you've got to buy hardware, you've got to turn it on, run electricity, and especially as the network grows, your bandwidth costs go up and up and up. But if we take it that each new node, to buy an ASIC, turn it on, plug it in, run the bandwidth, each new miner still costs 1 unit. Let's say it's $100 a month to run, round numbers, doesn't matter. But each time you do it, it's a linear cost. So somewhere along here, there's a line which says that with each new miner I add, there's just a static cost. So we can see that there's some point here where there's a sweet spot. We don't want 10,000 people mining because the costs are high and this is wasted. We don't want 1 person mining because although the cost is low, we don't have this appropriate security. At some point on this, there's a sweet spot where there is enough value to the more people mining, which adds decentralization, that is not over and above the cost that they actually mine.
But what about the price of Bitcoin as well? Does that factor in?
Doesn't factor in.
All the over mining costs go to those people that are over mining though. So none of the people who aren't mining have to.
No, and remember, it's the stakeholders, it's the Bitcoin holders that pay for that through inflation. So what I'm suggesting is they're not getting value for money. Imagine you own a company and you hire a security. You own a nightclub and you hire a bouncer to stand at the front. Now the first bouncer is really, really valuable, keeps things in order. You might need some help if it's a really crowd. You might get a second bouncer. But if you hire 10,000 bouncers to secure 200 people at a nightclub, you're wasting money on bouncers.
But somebody else is paying. That's my point. Somebody else is paying for it. The bouncers are working voluntarily. So like
everyone is working voluntarily. But as the nightclub owner, you would not want to pay 10,000 people to do that. Now what I'm suggesting is, as Bitcoin stakeholders, via that mechanism of inflation, right, via those extra rewards, we're diluting our shares, and we are paying for that security. That's set into the blockchain.
No, but our costs are fixed, 25 Bitcoin per block, and with the amount of money that come in, it is divided between them, so they have to compete against each other to be the most efficient one. Therefore, that's truly the best miners out there. So you don't stagnate with small amounts of miners that are just complacent with, oh, I've got 100 megahashes, that's good enough, and then someone else builds up their really effective hardware on the side, comes in, takes over the network because people go complacent.
Yes. So with regard to the Bitcoin network, it is true that whether there's one miner or 1,000 miners, it's completely irrelevant to the Bitcoin stakeholders. They're paying 25 Bitcoin every 10 minutes. Whether there's one miner or 10,000, completely irrelevant. But what I'm saying is, as a Bitcoin stakeholder, if we could control that figure, which we believe we can with delegated proof of stake, if we could control that figure, then what we want is at some point, we would say we've achieved a satisfactory level of decentralization, and it's not worth our while to continue hiring more bouncers to secure people that's already secure.
Unless they're really attractive females.
In which case, hire them all down. Okay? Now, what I'm suggesting to you guys is that maybe it'll happen in 1,000 years, maybe it'll happen in 500 years, or maybe it happened 6 months ago and then wrote a white paper for delegated proof of stake. At some point, a more efficient algorithm will come out, consensus algorithm will come out, that you won't have to just, there'll be no limit, sorry, there will be a limit in that you're not just going to hire an infinite number of security guards. There's this mad race towards just building more and more mining equipment. At some point it becomes not valuable, and it's just a waste on the system. And so at some point someone will come up with an algorithm. And whether or not it's already happened or not, we'll find out. Hopefully we'll thrash those ideas around a little bit. But I want to point out the challenge that we're trying to solve. And the challenge that we're trying to solve is unnecessary decentralization. Dan, have you got your hand up? Like you run the show. You don't need to put your hand up.
I'd like to address the question of the number of miners. It's really the cost of the miners. And the mining is almost an added cost that you don't even, it's just extra, because it's the cost of transaction validation that whether you've got mining or no mining, you've still got that cost for validating the nodes. And so Bitcoin has set a fixed budget. We're going to spend 10% of our net worth every single year currently on mining, and it's a free market out there. However many people can participate. But the reality is that the network is paying that cost, and in reality, because of mining pools, because of the centralization and production of the miners, you're only getting 2 or 3 really big bouncers that are running the show, despite all the money you're spending. So the mining does not buy you decentralization. Mining is like building a wall that someone has to climb over, and your security is directly proportional to the amount of money you spend on the wall. What you want to do is create a system where security is not proportional to how much you spend. You can spend a fixed amount on security and get infinite security if you use elliptic curve signatures and sign the blocks. If we are trusting a few mining pools to accurately produce blocks and not discriminate against transactions, might as well just have them sign it, and that's infinitely more secure than proof of work. So that's the main point I wanted to bring to all this, is the money is not going toward buying it. Ultimately, long run, you have to look at transaction fees. The users have to pay for the services that they're providing. And if Bitcoin had to generate enough revenue from transaction fees to pay for everything that's going into security, you'd be paying $8 to $10 per transaction in the Bitcoin network right now. And that's the real key, is look at what you need to have a sustainable, an economically sustainable system, and not hide behind inflation like the governments do.
So did everybody catch that? That's really significant.
Do you think proof of work is broken then, completely? Like, do you think it's like doomed to fail?
I think the economics of proof of work are twofold. One, that guarantees centralization, and whoever is willing to destroy the most resources for the least gain. And I know no one more effective at that than the United States government. But the other thing is, if you don't need to do it, then you can create a system that provides the exact same service to the market and do so much cheaper and potentially much faster and in a more secure manner. And so, yes, in my opinion, proof of work is dead, and that Bitcoin will have to upgrade to something else, or it will be eclipsed in the marketplace.
So I want to just reiterate the point that Dan said there. If Bitcoin stockholders, everybody who owns Bitcoin, If they did not voluntarily dilute their shares by paying the miners via inflation, if the networks wants the same amount of security and it was to be paid by fees, you'd be looking at about $8 to $10 per transaction. Every single transaction on the blockchain pays $8 fee. If the stockholders didn't voluntarily dilute their shares by paying the block rewards every time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the economic, the fees that we talked about in 2140, we get along with fees, and the whole economics there, just like projections. But the point is, either we have to sacrifice some security, and there'll be less money to be thrown around for security, or fees have to go up in the future, or it has to be made up in volume. There's still bandwidth costs to get into it. This is a really complex thing. But what I just want to impress upon you that those are the economics of now, and there is, again, whether it's this system that we're about to talk about, delegated proof of stake, or something else in the future, there is such a wide gap there of margin, because it's not just today. The hashing power, if people know about the difficulty rate, you can go on blockchain. The graph is just exponential. In the last 2 weeks, the difficulty went up 25% before that. Yeah, and now that's not necessarily all goes down to cost, because there's also the efficiencies of the technology that mines more has greater hashing power for less cost. So it's not necessarily a strict correlation that that's the increase. But nonetheless, the energy and the effort is growing very, very quickly, and that's what the cost and the burden is on the system.
I'd like to make one point, is that it doesn't matter how efficient you make the miners, that just helps them to compete against each other. At the end of the day, there's a fixed profit margin that drives everything, and the miners are always going to be in a race to the bottom, to the minimum possible margin.
Yeah. And there's some other things which came about, some challenges with proof of work that we kind of learned. And actually, they had first-hand experience in this next one I'm about to share. You released ProtoShare, which was kind of like the fundraiser for this project a while back. And here's one of the challenges. Remember we spoke about the analogy before that the stockholders cannot fire the security people, right? Now, with Bitcoin hasn't really been a challenge because it was the leader in the industry. But with new altcoins, that is a real challenge. I'll give you the reason why. You have this, a group of developers starts a new altcoin. There's like 4 guys and their CPUs. And back like when Satoshi was mining a CPU myself, there's a couple of guys running the mining on CPUs, right? And their haystack is this big, and every 10 minutes they're like, oh, I found a needle, guys. Hey, I found a needle every 10 minutes. And that's this altcoin survives. And then you've got this, ASIC machine, 500 horsepower, needle in a haystack, finding animal that all of a sudden can point to that little haystack. And with all of that brute force and that hashing power, it's just, and it can just mine. You can find needles at the speed of light in this little thing, right? So you can mine 1,000 blocks in 5 minutes. Right? I'm not making those numbers up, but the point is that you can mine very, very fast. And because the system only updates every 2 weeks, right?
Those things have blocks, not weeks.
That's correct. Yeah. And so the 2 weeks is an approximation guess. The way blockchain measures time is the number of blocks. So if someone finds those blocks really fast, you can hit that approximated 2-week mark in a few hours or a day. And then the protocol looks and says, wow, there's a lot of people looking for these needles that found them so fast. Let's make the haystack really, really big, right? So then that ASIC machine that was on Bitcoin that jumped into this little altcoin quickly that mined all these things in an hour, like mined 2 weeks worth in an hour, now says, oh, I'm bored with that, and turns away, goes back to mining Bitcoin. And now, because this 2 weeks is measured in blocks and there's no one looking for, goes back to the handful of people looking for the needle, this giant haystack, now it takes 3, 6 months, 12 months to hit that 2-week mark and adjust the difficulty down.
You just described the multi-pool, how we rate script coins all the time.
Right. Yeah, actually, well, the difficulty increase is limited to some certain percentage per each increase, so it won't be suddenly jumping from 10 minutes per block to 2 weeks per block because of one iteration, unless you iterate over multiple times. Also, we also development in some prevention for that. I think there's gravity.
Kimbo's gravity well.
Yeah, exactly, to prevent some of that. So there's development against such things.
There are some techniques to mitigate against that one.
Digibyte.
There are some techniques to mitigate against that. But nonetheless, it is a challenge for new altcoins, right? Okay. And this comes about because that altcoin couldn't fire what would be seen as a poorly acting security guard. So we'd like to fire that person and prohibit them, but you can't. That's another problem we're going to talk about. We're going to tie all these concepts in, by the way, I promise you. What's going to happen is that the owners of this new altcoin, they would have liked to have prohibited that ASIC from participating because they had too much. Dan's hands up. Go for it, Dan. You on mute? Mute? You're on mute, buddy.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
It's not just that they can manipulate the hash power and the delays, because you can compensate that with algorithms. It's the fact that your network can never be secure because at any time one actor can come along and completely forge the blockchain. So proof of work is like shares, which are always owned by one party. No one else can compete with the same proof of work. You might have ASICs for Bitcoin, so you have SHA-256. No one else can create a SHA-256 coin without it being controlled by the Bitcoin bouncers, if you will. And so you say, all right, well, let's come up with a new one. Script. Oh, well, now there's ASICs for that, but the time is GPUs. And so, all right, well, let's try to make a CPU-only one. And with what we were trying to do, I tried to create a CPU-only one. Guess what? There are botnets out there. But the economics of the system always results in a few players having economies of scale necessary to mine more efficiently and therefore more profitably, at which point they can mine at a profit level that none of the honest guys can actually mine at. And once they have that, no one else can create any coin using that proof of work. And by the time that we move to completely CPU-based proof of work, it's endgame. You can't create a new proof of work algorithm that isn't controlled by the people who have already monopolized the most efficient general purpose mining out there and are looking to utilize their power to make money any way possible. So it's centralization due to the laws of economics, and you can't do anything about it. It's a barrier to entry is the way I look at it. Is this happens and now no one else can enter that space because they've raised the bar so high.
Which kind of ties into the final point I wanted to make before we kind of tie it all up and introduce DPoS. Yeah, go ahead with that happens.
Penetration operating system.
What's that?
Double penetration operating system.
Yeah, that's not what it is. Dan, when you start? I'm sorry, I lost it. I'll come back to me in a minute.
It was number 3 point, whatever that is.
I'll come back to it. So, which by the way, a little bit of history there is, Litecoin came along, worked off a different. I'm not sure what the correct word is, but different script mining versus SHA-256. I'm not sure what that is.
Script algorithm.
Yeah. And so most of the altcoins are actually modeled after Litecoin because the ASICs in the Bitcoin world would have just crushed it, right? But now ASICs have come along in the Litecoin world, and this is a real barrier to entry to new altcoins coming in. Because we want competition.
Even before ASICs
already.
Huh?
X11 now.
Right.
All the new coins are X11.
But even before ASIC, you got mining pools like Eligius that decided to crash a couple of altcoins with its computing power. Like pointed out, I think it was CoilCoin, something like that. It was wiped it off even before ASICs came along. So yeah, just for fun.
So which kind of brings us along to proof of work. Sorry, not proof of work, proof of stake. I'm not always getting too confused. Which brings us along to proof of stake. So what proof of stake was trying to mitigate this. Was said, okay, we see recognized as a problem in that the wrong people have the power, the miners have the power. Sorry, that was my point. Remember my point. Let me go. If the Bitcoin network is as secure as it is decentralized, and there's a very clear trend toward centralization in the mining industry. There was a vision one day that it'll all be running on our CPUs and then be like BitTorrent running across the world of millions of CPUs. But the economics of the situation are that it's profitable now to have these big mining farms. And very soon, the margins will be so slim, it will be completely unprofitable to put them in little retail pretty boxes and mail them out to people's houses, these ASIC machines. It'll be big purpose-built buildings, water-cooled filtration systems, and big naked chips with no retail housing whatsoever. And so the trend is towards centralization. And that's the actual physical hardware, in addition to the mining pools. But just focusing on the hardware, the trend is towards centralization, there's no point. So it's a question. And the question asked is, well, now let's say if we fast forward a few years and that centralization becomes more real, now it's possible that there's only like 5 to 10 major data warehouses somewhere in the world that are doing the vast majority of the mining. And now, and yeah, that's the question. And so here's the thing: once that mining power is taken over, if it was taken over, eventually it would be a very, very difficult thing to do. But if it was done, there would be no recourse for the Bitcoin shareholders. Once the hardware is in control of the nefarious force, the shareholders cannot fire the security force. The shareholders can't fire the miners.
But the honest miners can roll back and fork. The honest miners can fork, and then the wallets can follow the honest nodes.
No, correct. But what if the nefarious ones had the
permanently had
permanently had, correct.
Yeah.
Permanently.
So we just change the rules of the game, and then
change the rules.
Like Andreas Anapoulos addressed that in his Texas conference, saying that if, say, government put billions of dollars into crashing Bitcoin, we just change the protocol, and there will be billions of dollars wasted on their hardware or whatever. So Bitcoin can adapt if needed. It's just that it doesn't need to adapt yet, so it doesn't change anything. Not to make it like the fat coin, something like that.
Excellent. I have heard that from Andreas as well, by the way. Dan, do you have a response to that? I would like to hear that one.
I'm afraid I missed part of what he said there.
We're just going to fork Bitcoin if someone mines us. We'll just fork it.
If nefarious actors took over the hashing power permanently, what would be Bitcoin's recourse? Fork.
Bitcoin would have to switch to a new consensus algorithm.
These guys are suggesting they can just...
If you just fork and you do a snapshot after the fork, at any time the big miners can point at the other network and deny transactions on it. So
if the Bitcoin chain forked to still a SHA-256 algorithm,
they would know we fork away from SHA.
You have to fork away from SHA.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think there might be also ways to continue with the SHA bots that prevent 51% of saying that you cannot do 51% attack, like override a block that has, say, transactions with older age than the ones you're overriding. So therefore, honest transactions will win over because the attacker will have only so many transactions because spent with Bitcoin days destroyed until he runs out of them, and honest people with honest transactions will take over, and their blocks will be included because they've been having, say, older coins in them.
What I see is by the time that happens, when mining becomes so centralized, it could be that Bitcoin is used so prevalently around the world that even if it became so concentrated, so centralized, people would still keep using it because it's kind of like when they put in the Federal Reserve, everybody still kept using the dollar anyways because it was just everyone was using it. And look how long it's taken for us to realize, oh shit, this system is.
No, but maybe say if the government gets involved and goes to like GTAP, say, oh, we take over your company now. Go to get the second biggest miner. Go, oh, we take over your company now. Now they have more than 51%. So it could happen in a day if needed. But
So let's try to keep it moving along. There may be solutions, and that's like a debate raging.
Let's look at a question here. It's like a mile-high view. How many people actually have a say over what transactions get included today versus how many people own Bitcoins?
102 people have that.
Right. Just look at the relative scale there. What if everyone who had Bitcoin had a say in how the network operated? Say proportional to how much they own.
I can choose what network to spend my Bitcoins on. If it forks, I have a choice to run it on the current one or run it on a fork. We all have a choice.
How does that work when you start from zero? And
all right, so you have, there's the ultimate decentralization is the free market. You have Bitcoin's a voluntary system, and so as long as you can opt out of Bitcoin, you can sell and you can go to a fork of Bitcoin, which is nothing more than a new altcoin, and it's going to have a different market price than the main network. And what you probably see is that both prices fall as it forks into two different coins. You don't just get to switch and keep the market value, because chances are that the big players have already locked up the exchanges and some of the big movements before they decide that they're going to start filtering transactions. And let's talk about what these people are really doing. Mining is the power to deny transactions. It's the power to enforce a stricter set of rules on the community than Bitcoin natively supports. You can't enforce a looser set because everyone would have to approve of loosening the rules. miners can always enforce a stricter set of rules. To the point that got 49% of the hash power, they can't produce any blocks that violate the rules with 51%. So the key here is that, all right, your one vote is you can always sell out and go to another system. But if you want to stay in one system because of the network effect of that system, how much say do you have over which way it goes? And with Bitcoin, you have almost no say. But with proof of stake, we're increasingly seeing ways of making sure that more and more people are enfranchised, have a say, have influence over how things happen. And the core message I try to point out is that centralization is going to happen, whether you design for it or not. It's best to design a system that allows the necessary economic centralization that is going to occur to remain in control of the most people possible, rather than, I like to call Bitcoin delegated proof of work. The mining pool is a way of users delegating their hash power to someone else to decide it. And that's what you're going to see, is that for efficiency, scalability, and other things, that you're going to have some kind of delegated control structure, regardless of the system you have. If you don't have that, then you're going to end up in a situation like with other proof-of-stake coins, where your mining power is proportional to your stake. Well, you need to have enough stake that you can mine profitably. Otherwise, you don't have a say. So systems like Peercoin, you have that fixed cost, and you've got to produce enough money from mining activities, from keeping your keys online, producing blocks.
Yeah, let me just slightly out of touch just to talk about proof of stake, because I don't think the room could know exactly what you're talking about. Right?
All right.
So let me just, I want to reiterate something. These things that we're talking about, I'm not saying that Bitcoin is like dead. I don't agree with that at all. What I'm saying is that these things are just, they're challenges, they're drawbacks, and I think there are solutions to all of them. I'm very, very bullish, very excited about Bitcoin. But I just wanted to point them out to lay the groundwork for the discussion, because I think we're going to introduce something that has a lot of benefits, that improves on all of the challenges that I've just spoken about. And then I want to make sure that we're not sacrificing security, right? So yes, there are solutions and there's ways to do things, but there are challenges there. It's important to acknowledge them. So to jump quickly over the proof of stake, what that algorithm is, and actually I don't know the technicalities of it, I just know the analogy, so if it's technically inaccurate, well, you can correct me, but don't worry about it, the sentiment is there. What they decided to do is they tried to correct the challenge. So remember we said that the stakeholders, the people who own the units, they're not in control. So proof of stake tried to rectify that and said, well, okay, let's allow the people who have the greatest stake, let's make their haystack smaller so they mine faster. I don't know if that's technically true, but that's how it turns out. The larger the stake that you have, the easier it is for you to mine. And what that does is it gives more power to the people who have the largest stake. Now, there's some benefits to that, all right? But the challenge is that you still get to tend to move towards centralization, because if you have a small amount of coins, you have the cost of having the unit, keeping it plugged in all the time, doing all the mining. Your rewards are so little because your haystack's so big that you don't get very much. So you actually don't run a node at all. So what happened was only the people with the large amount of stakes, it's warranted running the node. So that was the problem. It's a challenge. It's not like a death and nail in the coffin. It's just that's one of the challenges of proof of stake that moves people to moves that coin towards centralization. And again, centralization is the enemy of security. So we're constantly trying to create the security through decentralization, but there's all these things in the world that are moving us towards centralization, as economies of scale. Right? So finally, we are here ready to talk about delegated proof of stake, which is hopefully is going to solve a lot of these problems. The challenge I want you guys to shoot holes in it and let us know, was security sacrificed. Right? So delegated proof of stake, what that basically means is that all the shareholders vote on a delegate, a group of delegates to mine. They hire. There's a chosen number plucked out of the air. I assume it can be changed over time. There are 101 delegates that are chosen to be the miners of the network. That's the privilege that they are given. In order to have that privilege, they need to put up a bond. They need to put up. They need to make themselves known to the world. And this is a privileged position that earns an income, so they're actually going to they might want to campaign to win the votes to become the delegates, which is kind of cool. Has the benefits we'll talk about later. But let's talk about some of the other economic benefits. What this means is that at any point, if any miners act nefariously, do anything wrong, the stakeholders can fire them. They're out. So anyone does anything like this, they just get fired. It's really simple, built into the code, and there are some algorithms to make the obvious bad things that they might do automatically vote them out. All right. So we see the power is back in the hands of the shareholder where it should be, and they can fire the security as a. Let me get through it and I'll answer all the questions. Okay. Next point to consider. There is a cap how much you pay the security force. You can actually choose. And if you go back to this graph, you can actually, the alt currency and the stockholders can choose a sweet spot whereby there is enough benefit to miners to mine, and you don't pay for any extra decentralization that's of no value, right? So with a delegated proof of stake system right now, the Bitcoin network is paying $750 million. Next year it'll be over $1 billion for security fees. With delegated proof of stake, the security force can be paid and selected, and it can be done for hundreds of thousands of dollars, not $750 million and not $1 billion. And it scales. No matter how big the network gets, you might get a little bit of it. You might have to increase your rewards a little bit to cover bandwidth costs. But the bigger the network gets, the smaller the costs of security the network gets as a proportion of the network. All right. So now we get into a situation where transaction fees can actually pay for the security force, for the miners, and leave profits left over for the existing stakeholders. So all the economic principles and all the incentives are lined up appropriately to make it work. A little bit more details on how it works. There's the stakeholders vote, and their vote is proportional to how big their stake is. If you've got more coins, you have more voting power. The stakeholders, so it's very much like a company, right? So who should be the CEO of Apple? Well, the stakeholder get together and they elect the CEO. Board of directors would be more accurate. And the more votes you get, the more power your vote has. All right? The way it works is there's 101 delegates and they take a turn mining. They don't compete against each other. They just each take a turn. All right?
Is it always sequential?
Is it always sequential, Dan, or is it
the same order?
It goes through everyone and then randomly shuffles it and goes through everyone again.
Okay. Cool. Okay. So yeah, the benefits are okay. One thing. Because there's not this competitive hashing looking for a needle in a haystack, there are no resources wasted just looking for giant haystacks. There's no reason to make it difficult. Because each delegate gets a turn, they're not competing against anyone. So their costs are actually very, very small. So they don't need to get paid a lot to be very, very happy with their role. They turn on a mining machine, they run it, they pay for the bandwidth, and they're content. They don't need much money, there's only 101 of them. That's what I'm saying.
Dan?
Dan's got more to say.
I'd like to say that the delegates are competing for the job based on their skills as well as their compensation. They can choose to lower their compensation in order to get elected, and if they lower their compensation, the fees are burned. It's the equivalent of a stock buyback. So the shareholders can actually earn a profit instead of taking a loss like they do in Bitcoin. And so now you have competitive market forces driving the cost for zero for securing the network.
That's what it's not anti-corruption. It's like the NRA keeping the gun laws in place. Saying you've got a powerful lobby, you just lobby and say, well, we're going to have money, so you get somebody on board. So we'll pay you a lot of money, you select us, and we'll take that. But there is so you support stupid rules by potentially corruption.
No, so there is no board, because what happens is, in order to take over the network, you have to take over 51% of the voting power, which means you've got to buy up 51% of the points.
How many nodes would it take, do you think, to break the network? If I was a bad actor, how many nodes would I have to personally control, in your opinion, to break your delegated proof of stake system?
It doesn't matter how many nodes you control, it matters how many delegates you own.
Okay, how many delegates will I have nodes?
51% of them.
51 literally.
So here's my challenge with this. Remember, these people are known, they're public, they put up a bond, right? Let me talk about one positive about that, and then we'll get to what I see as the biggest security threat, and we'll let you try and control it as best you can. Imagine if, it's a pretty cushy job, right? You turn on a miner, you keep it plugged on at Amazon, you're not competing against anyone, you're constantly assured to mine every few minutes, and for this privilege you get a small income, it's 50 grand a year, 20 grand a year, whatever, right? It's a pretty good job, people want it. So now we have people campaigning and competing for the job. So one is they're offering to lower their income, which is the same as the nightclub owner. Well, there's 50 bouncers to choose from. No one can go and charge themselves $500 an hour. There are market forces to drive that price down. That's cool. Second thing is people campaign on how much they can do for the network. So you might find situations where, let's say, a personality in the industry, like let's say Andreas Antonopoulos, he's like, hey guys, go and get some BitShares, go and buy some of this altcoin. Vote for me. I want to be a delegate. I'm going to mention it at all times on the show. Every time I have a show, every time I do a speech, I'm going to mention it and promote it, and that's going to drive up the price. So people start campaigning on what they can do for the network in order to become a delegate. That's a really cool incentive and motivation built into the system. All right. Now here's the challenge for me. Here's the challenge, the question I posed to Dan a couple of weeks ago. I was like, these 101 delegates are known. We've seen the firm. It doesn't make sense. Here's the analogy. There's 51 people I want to control. To me, it's really easy. You go and give them a date rape drug. You put a 10-year-old boy on them. You take a photo. You own this person for life. Only 51 people. It's not that hard, right? So the conclusion I came to was that it is easier to control this system by controlling those delegates. So what Dan reminded me is that may be true. Now, I'm not sure if you necessarily agree with that, but that may be true. However, what is built in is a very, very quick system whereby even if the whole slate of delegates are turned nefarious, you can vote them out immediately and there's absolutely no benefit. Because in this system, unlike proof of stake and unlike proof of work, you can actually say you do not count. Your mining efforts, no matter how big, no matter how powerful, no matter how many millions of terahashes you are, you don't count. Only the 101 delegates that I'm voting for are allowed. And you can vote them in and out very, very quickly in a matter of minutes. So do you want to talk a little bit more about that, Dan?
Yeah, certainly. So if you try to coerce someone, the key thing is to recognize that delegates don't have absolute power, and that there is a consensus that the technology helps enforce, but the real consensus is among the users, among society as a whole. And that consensus transcends any particular technological issue. If Bitcoin had a flaw today that allowed someone to create millions of Bitcoins at whim, and they discovered it, guess what? There'd be a consensus that we should go back in time, hard fork, take out that transaction, everyone download a new wallet, and life would go on. So the market is the ultimate form, and the consensus is the real heart of all security, of all systems. Now the goal is to make it as easy and automated as possible to keep that consensus. And with delegated proof of stake, as long as delegates are including transactions, then people can change their votes and they get moved out. It's very easy to detect when someone stops including transactions, or if they only include transactions that vote for them. So because it's very easy to tell when someone has violated the social consensus, the thing that's binding us all together, it's also very easy to know when we have to do something about it. So in that event, it's possible to construct a link that says, all right, we're going to hard fork all the honest delegates out there who haven't been compromised would publish, hey, we're all going to switch over here, hold a new election, new delegates get elected, and now the system is back in control of the honest players. If someone happened to take control of the network by controlling 51% of the stake, rather than controlling through coercion delegates that were elected honestly, it's even possible to know which stake was voting for those delegates and cut that stake out and continue. So because the barriers to entry are so low, the ease at which the consensus can hop in an emergency scenario from one chain to another, it's a lot easier than with Bitcoin. We have to come up with a whole new proof of work, and there's a big battle of which proof of work system should we switch to, or which proof of stake system should Bitcoin switch to. Instead, it's, oh, we already have a contingency plan. Everyone already knows who the leaders are, who the honest players are, and the network will continue. So there is nothing to be gained by coercing the main delegates, because your control is short-lived. It might cause a momentary disruption. Okay, we had a bank holiday for a weekend while we got everyone back on the same page, but then the network would continue. No one's balance was lost. So the key is delegates don't have much power. They have one job to do: produce the blocks, include transactions, don't discriminate. If they don't do that job to the satisfactory of the shareholders, it's detectable, 100% chance of getting caught, and if they are caught signing more than one block, they can be automatically fired because you've got cryptographic proof. So there's no way to get away with cheating in this system. And when major corruption, like 51% attack, hostile takeover scenario does occur, it's so easy to recover from, and it's so costly to perform in the first place that no one would even bother trying because there's nothing to be gained. The network is robust enough. Once again, reiterating that the free market is the ultimate form of centralization, and that lowering barriers to entry is how you maximize the free market. So we guarantee the most decentralization by having almost no barriers to entry.
Okay, I'm finished. Let the onslaught begin.
Yeah.
Jacob.
So just to kind of refresh a little bit, who are the ones that vote for the delegates?
Stakeholders. Owning the unit of the currency.
So, like, if I own 1,000
units,
like if I own 90% of the units,
yes.
Do I own 90% of the vote?
Yes. Yes.
No, well, you own all the vote because you can choose who's the delegate, therefore you own all of them.
You own 90% of the vote.
Okay, so what's preventing me from attacking the stakeholders instead?
You are the stakeholder.
You are 90% of the stakeholders. But if I'm attacking so.
Well, because everybody can be like in Bitcoin, you cannot attack Bitcoiners because you don't know who they are necessarily.
Yes, yes. But my question is, regards to when I mean attack, not with a knife, not with a stare, or with money, but with for propaganda, or basically information warfare. I mean, essentially.
That can happen to any old
I have a hard time hearing something else you stated.
Well, if, for example, if there's a problem in the delegates, right? What's preventing the delegates that are fraudulent to manipulate the voters to vote for them instead?
They have no power over that.
Okay, so it's the same problem all democracies face, is that with propaganda, whoever controls the propaganda machine has the power to influence voter turnout and cause voters to make decisions that are contrary to their own best interest because they've deceived them. The system doesn't solve that. The reality is Bitcoin's under the same exact influences. You get the propaganda machine going on to get all Bitcoin addresses registered and to enforce a stricter set, and people will go along with it. So the main thing is, what do the dissenters, those who see through the propaganda, who don't agree, what are their recourse? Their recourse is they can sell and they can set up their own system. So these systems encourage like-minded individuals to come in and set up their own rules that they all like and agree. And whichever system is most effective at meeting the needs of the market will grow and flourish. But there will be many such systems, each customized to individual needs. So can a system that's established for one group of users be hijacked? I don't think so. Those users have a worldview, a perspective, a consensus that they're expected to be followed, and you might be able to hijack the consensus of one group, but a minority will split off and go their own way. In any case, the participants are in control.
How do I vote?
How do I
do what?
What's the mechanism of voting? How do you vote?
Right.
Okay.
Do I need a machine running, and what's my incentive for voting well, besides that I want it to work well?
How do you vote? Incentive for voting.
Okay, so your incentive to vote is to secure the system, to make sure that your investment and your money is safe, to make sure that you're maximizing the return on your investment. The same reason shareholders have incentive to vote in the board of directors of any company. You're all shareholders in the system. You vote in the best interest of your shares to make sure they go up in value. That's your incentive to vote. How do you do it? in the wallet, you have a list of candidates, all the people that are running, or on websites, you click a link, and you basically say, I approve or I don't approve of various people. You can also say, hey, you know what, I don't know who to trust, but I trust my friend over here to recommend people to me. Saying, I'll follow them, and then whenever your wallet makes a transaction, it'll look at everyone you voted for and vote accordingly when you make a transaction. So every time you spend money, it updates your vote. If you want to vote now, you can spend money to yourself, and that will update all of your votes.
Do you worry about like the delegates becoming completely entrenched? Like the top 10 would never leave the system, right? Once they're in, isn't that just like a centralization way? It's the same people. There's no way to kick them out by that point. If they stay good, they just get to be the delegate forever.
Yeah, there is, I guess, the incumbent problem. Are the incumbents inherently better off than new guys? Yes, because they're in there, they're doing their job. The truth is, unless someone else can say that they're going to do something better, if they're getting the job done, there's no reason to vote them out.
But even if they said they were going to do something better, like, and they were right, and they were like proving it, most people won't care enough to vote. Like, most people would just not vote. 90% of votes wouldn't even be cast. Yeah. At least 90.
So they won't care what people are doing.
Can you give your vote to someone else?
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
People wouldn't do that. That's like 2 mouse clicks, man. Come on.
But wouldn't that also lead to like centralization in a way? Because if I would give my vote, I don't know who the hell to vote for, so I'd be like, Andreas, awesome, or Max, awesome, take my vote, because I don't know my ass to my elbow here. And that, I think I'm not alone there. A lot of people would be looking to that one person.
Yes, you can take your votes and you can basically tell your client, hey, vote like they vote, and I'm going to follow their opinion. But the point is, you're still in control, and if at any point in time Andreas goes off the deep end or is coerced to support someone, you're still in control. If people don't vote, it's not even the end of the world. The consensus is still there. The job's getting done. It's just the wallets. The goal is to make the wallet as natural and intuitive and almost like Twitter. I'm just going to follow these people and automatically combine all my friends' recommendations into my recommendation, and when you make your transactions, it automatically votes accordingly. Truth is, there are going to be some large shareholders, the exchanges, large merchants, people that own 5-10% or so of the coins in circulation that are going to be very proactive at protecting their investment. The little people might not vote, but they at least have the option to, and if they choose to, they can exercise their influence. And it's really just a matter of making the system fun, making it easy, making it natural, and we can even do some automated things on the wallet side, where if your wallet's open and you observe behavior, you can detect delegates that aren't doing their job, they're missing blocks. The other thing is, it's like politics. If there's a fight, if there's something going wrong, if their network's experiencing disruption, you're going to get mad. Hey, why is my transaction taking extra, 20 seconds instead of 10 seconds? Maybe I should go figure out why half the delegates aren't doing their job and vote some better people in. There's basically this wheel gets the grease, and so if there's a problem, people can do something about it. If it's running smoothly, there's no need to do anything about it.
So let's assume, for example, that BitShares becomes popular, and a lot of companies start issuing this type of BitShares kind of as a replacement for their stock. So, from my understanding, BitShares is very. I wouldn't see this as a really good replacement for a currency, because we wouldn't trust only 100 people for a world universal currency, but I would see it as a very viable as for shares. And maybe I'm wrong, but the point is that let's assume we have like 1,000 companies that have 100,000 dollars. And what prevents one agent to not stock profit 51% of each delegate of one company, but to stock profit just one delegate of each 1,000 companies and be able to manipulate those 1,000 company's shares, you know, in a probabilistic manner. I mean, yes, 10. If you control one delegate out of 10 companies, you can't really manipulate them that much, right? You can't really do anything with only one delegate. But if you can spread your influence over a large amount of different, you know, BitShare delegates, that probabilistically you have more and more power, even though you only have one delegate at each company.
So can I have a bash it just down? You can correct me if I'm wrong. So each one of those companies,
yes,
they're effectively an altcoin, right?
Yeah.
So it's like saying, well, I've got a little bit of mining power on Litecoin, a little bit of mining power on Bitcoin, a little bit of this, and it's somehow going to add up to mean I have a lot of power over the whole system. Doesn't quite make sense.
Not as a shareholder, but as a delegate.
So the delegate ought to
for the network, not every company will have their own delegate. Just we have 101 delegates for the whole network, so you have to control those specific people, not go, let's say that, oh, Bitcoin has 10 delegates. No, they don't really. There are just delegates in the network.
Okay. Hang on, let's make sure that this is
what I'm asking is if I'm able to have such software.
You own one delegate on hundreds of chains.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, this will basically allow me to do is make a small kind of changes within the behavior of these 1,000 companies.
And yeah, so that's not true.
Things I want to run as a
so that's not true. It's a great question, but that turns out to be not true. So as a miner, all you can do is the delegates. All they're doing is they're mining blocks.
Right.
Now, if you're just one delegate behaving badly, you don't subtly change the network. All you can do is include transactions or not include transactions in the blocks that you mine, or mine blocks or not.
Can you just stop mining altogether?
And you can just stop mining altogether. The other 99 delegates will continue to do it, and they'll still produce the longest chain. And when the network sees that you're not mining blocks, it will automatically vote you out. It doesn't even need to wait for people to vote in that instance. You get voted out when you stop doing your job. So the failure to do a job is extremely transparent, and the system automatically votes you out, and then it just goes to who's got the next amount of votes. Does that make sense? Cool. I'm glad we stayed with it. What's the
It
next
sounds
one?
like delegating votes is the same as like pointing your mining power to mining pool, and right, it's pretty much the same thing. So that yeah.
So I think you can vote as multiple people, not just one. Say.
Well, I have 5 miners. I can point to a different pool, so same thing.
No, but it combines to all of them. Say if you have 10%, you give everyone 10%, not just like one person, 1%, 1%, 1%.
Yeah. Okay, so we're saying mining pool is the same as voting. Then we see already when people get the option, we need to kick out the bad actors. Nobody moves their hashing power. Like Ghash went from 40 to 50 while everyone was shitting themselves.
Yeah.
And nobody cared.
But
like everyone still did it. It still got up there, and no people were moving their mining power. It's the same thing as moving your vote. Like, do you think that solves that problem in any way? Just no one's going to vote. No one's going to push their vote.
For starters, for starters, you already have 101 people out there, so it's like having 101 mining pools. Okay, 1 or 2 get bad. Maybe it takes people a while to move their vote. If it was
I'm saying that all of the votes are being delegated to the same few people, so those few people have basically control over
it doesn't work that way.
All going to give you our votes, and you're going to basically control the whole thing, because we all trust
you. You don't give your votes to someone else. No one else can change your vote for you. The only thing that can happen is when you go to make a transaction, you can vote the same as someone else. So no one has control over the votes.
Yeah, but it's giving the vote. Like I say my vote's going to be the same as yours every time. Even if the network got bad, we've seen that people are not willing to even put the littlest bit of effort into moving their miners or moving their votes, even if it got bad under your control, because we'll give you our votes or vote the same way as you. Even when we do that, the systems, people are still not going to change. Like, and there's only 101 of you, and now you're in the same mining pool situation where you have like 3 or 4 people or 3 or 4 pools controlling all the power, controlling all the votes.
Well, if the people in charge, or you say, oh, they're all in doing something, controlling all the votes. Well, what are they actually disrupting the use of the network? Are you not going to say, hey, why isn't the network working? Oh, it's because I'm voting for this person. All right, change it. If there's no problem, then it doesn't matter. If there is a problem, everyone is motivated to fix it. Are you going to sit there and say, hey, why is my investment tanking? Oh, it's because the network is being flaky and no one's including transactions and things aren't running as quickly as they could be. Bottom line is they either do the job or they don't. If they're not doing the job and no one does anything, all right, so the network stops. Apparently nobody cares. So it's really, are they going to produce the block, or are they going to do nothing at all? And the only gray area in the entire mix is if someone says, all right, I'm going to produce blocks, but I'm going to discriminate in some way. And that's only going to be a problem if all the miners discriminate in the same way. But then, of course, it's consent. If the people who are being discriminated against can't get any support, then I guess that's where the consensus went. But bottom line is, it's not about control. It's about when someone's in control, what can they do? And they can't do anything when they're in control. It's like an extremely limited constitutional government where you can produce a block or you can go home. And if you don't produce a block, you're not actually really harming the network. And the users can't be passive and say, all right, no blocks getting produced, I'm not going to do anything about it. I guess, that doesn't make any sense.
Won't the exchanges just control most of the votes, like proportionally to everyone else? So basically, no one else's vote would matter because the exchanges have like most of the coins. Let's be honest; they're mostly sitting on exchanges for almost all altcoins.
Well, with BitShares X, most of the money should be on the blockchain because the exchange will be on the blockchain. You have dollars and gold and silver trading against BTC and so on, all on one chain. You don't have to go to a centralized place to do most of it.
Actually, you will, because exchange will be more efficient, say high-frequency trading, things like that, and high-volume trading than any distributed system could ever be.
10-second blocks, I guess we're aiming to eliminate high-frequency trading. But yes, you can trade on a centralized exchange, but for most people, you don't need high-frequency trading.
So are you planning to do this on BitShares X, or is this something you're proposing for Bitcoin to switch over to? Like, this
is already implemented and has been functioning on BitShares X for the past month.
But are you saying that Bitcoin should do this as well, or is this something that, or you're saying that this would be a better Bitcoin?
I'm saying that in the free market, Bitcoin is a company that's losing $500 million a year. It has to have continual investment to prevent it from going down. Not only that, Bitcoin, after you've used BitShares X, you realize Bitcoin's hard to use and slow, and you have to wait an hour to be sure your transaction can't be reversed. Whereas with delegated proof of stake, after 10 seconds, you're sure that the transaction can't be reversed. Bitcoin feels absolutely slow. It's competing in a free market. Its advantage right now is it's the incumbent. It's got the most network effect. But guess what? It doesn't have price stability. It doesn't have built-in exchange. It doesn't have a dedicated development team. All the money that could be spent, imagine if that $500 million a year was spent on development of Bitcoin infrastructure other than mining hardware. It would be a game changer. So I suspect and would recommend that the Bitcoin shareholders get on board with upgrading their system. They could agree to, but I don't think it would be easy to get a consensus. If they could get a consensus on that, they would have changed the mining algorithm to prevent ASICs, or they would have done a lot of other things. But there is a culture around Bitcoin that's already controlled by major players in the ASIC world. As far as I'm concerned, Bitcoin is very centralized, and you're not going to get a movement to switch systems because the existing people in power of Bitcoin would not really support it.
I really try. If you were a nefarious actor, how would you destroy this coin? Like,
No,
seriously.
I don't think enough people in this room know about
Oh, fair enough.
Well, and if you can buy votes, like, can you buy influence over the network just by being like, hey, like, vote the way I'm going to vote, you know?
Well,
Or would the incentive be there so that you wouldn't do that in the network itself?
You can buy influence, right? Just buy the shares and vote directly. You can pay people to vote with their shares how you want. Sure, you can do all those things, but this is not like voting for a government where, oh, I vote for the president and now he can pass a law to imprison me for any arbitrary thing. This is very limited. You've been hired for a job, you do it or you don't. If you're going to pay someone to harm the network, and you're trying simultaneously, the people you're paying are the investors in the network, It's insanity. That's like saying that you're going to bribe Apple shareholders to elect a board of directors that's going to tank the company. It's ridiculous.
We're talking about BitShares.
Essentially, this is a financial framework for making correct?
I can't hear you. You're cutting out. So if you could repeat the question.
So BitShares are for an idea of work. Correct?
What I heard was BitShares is a framework for creating decentralized autonomous organizations.
For financing the decentralized organization.
Yeah.
Correct.
You start talking and then the audio does something funny that kind of like mutes you out by feedback or something.
Yeah.
See, I can hear Brian there. But,
Tablet. The tablet at the left. What are those levers? I don't know.
This?
Pause and trouble. You want to run it? Peter, do you have video on? Where's the
There's a mic. Oh.
Hello, everybody. Maybe we're just trying to wrap it up.
So I want a company that
Turn off the audio. Does that help any? Can you hear me? Is it better now? Okay. We're turning on our audio. Is somebody else's computer going with audio on it? Okay, go ahead.
It's 100 delegates. What is just starting out? What if you're asked about how would you start issuing? You would essentially have only available people that are interested in getting right.
Okay, so how do you start out? Well, in our systems, we recommend that you start out with an initial allocation of shares among the people who own PTS who mined it, or the people who donated to make all of our stuff possible. And that gives you an initial base of thousands of users. But you could start out with any system you like. Obviously, all systems start out centralized, and the goal of the system is to become decentralized over time. BitShares X, right now we have a large influence over it. And the developers, things are always decentralized to some extent in the developers of the system. So I guess it's up to the people. It's like starting a company. How do you get more shareholders?
We just went all Decepticon.
I think our signal time has expired, perhaps.
How is the BitShares distribution done? I can talk about that. Audio's breaking up on us, so we're going to have to quit it there, mate.
Okay. Well, you guys have a good night.
Thank you very much, man. Stop broadcasting. Yeah. So.